that is recognized now by this administration. So the first thing that President Trump has to do in order to make sure this lasts is actually restrain the Israelis, take away key components of the military aid that we give them so that they lack the capability to go on the offense and to spoil this ceasefire.
Will Chamberlain, your response to that?
I mean, I think that's a completely incoherent idea, not merely wrong, but just incoherent. First off, it presupposes we have the ability to take away their offensive capabilities. Newsflash, they already have them. We can't just seize them. Are we going to invade Israel and take their planes? We can't. They have the F-35.
I mean, we could, though. I mean, come on now. We could sit there and take Israel's. We could sit there and take Israel's nukes if we wanted to, and we should. I mean, like, you know, maybe taking their airplanes would be a bit much, but taking their nukes would be a good start and, you know, be right step in the right direction. And it'd be a good start to peace in the Middle East.
They have these capabilities. Remember, they launched the 12-day war on their own. So, I mean,
no, but
even
America,
the debate
but on that point,
Will,
on that point, the Americans could withdraw their funding.
Sure, but
the billions of dollars that go to the Israelis, which they use to fund their own military, that could just be withdrawn. So America isn't powerless. It can exercise that power.
Right, but the offensive capabilities they would need to strike Iran, they already have. They're the second biggest air force in the world.
No, I got you, user. Now, here's the thing, though. There's been a bit of misinformation going on about his old opinion. And no, he's been pretty consistent. The problem with, like, what Kent said is that he appreciated Donald Trump's sternness on these terrorist groups without getting into a full-on war. And it's, you're like, you know, before this war, Donald Trump kind of knew how to play the line between, you know, these aggressive attacks and not getting drawn out into a full-blown conflict. I mean, he did it with the Houthis, and I mean, it may not have worked out that well, but he didn't get into a full-blown conflict out there in Yemen. He also did it with Iran with Midnight Hammer, and he didn't get it with a full-blown conflict with Iran then. I mean, he even did it in his first term with taking out Soleimani. He didn't get into a full drawn-out war with Iran. So he's always respected how Trump was tough on the terrorism without getting drawn into a full-on war with a country. So that's his stance, and that's why everybody frames it as, oh, you were a supporter of Trump's on all these strikes last time. You were supportive of Trump. And it's like, yeah, but he never said he was in support of Trump going into an all-out war with Iran. He said he was in support of, oh, yeah, I like how Trump pretty much shows sternness on these terrorist groups, letting them know that they can't do whatever they want without going into full-blown war with a country or a drawn-out conflict.
Today, even if we said we're not going to give you $4 billion a year going forward, that wouldn't stop anything. And then the second point is that this is an unbelievably silly approach to foreign policy because we haven't hammered out final terms with the Iranians yet. We're still in the middle of negotiations. The idea that we would restrain our ally, who, by the way, just helped us achieve one of the greatest military victories of the modern era, we would restrain them instead of trying to use the threat of continued belligerence from them to extract more punitive terms from the Iranians is silly. It's just completely antithetical to how things should work. And the idea that we need to be worried about our Gulf neighbors who would be upset if we didn't restrain the Israelis is also absurd because our Gulf neighbors are on our side. And this war has not only solidified our position militarily, it's solidified it.
I don't know, man. We got our Gulf allies feeling a little jealous. Like, we pulled up quick to defend Israel from those missiles, but we kind of left them ass out. So, yeah, trust me, they're not too happy with us. I mean, they're going to play nice, but let's be real. They're not too happy. We basically brought this war to them. And then also we kind of left the ass out for Israel. So, nah, they're not happy, but they're going to play nice with us if they know it's good for them.
Dramatically, because all those countries are furious with the Iranians and are on our side and want to strengthen cooperation with both us and Israel.
But what is clear from that New York Times report, it seems to be incredibly well sourced. So somebody's been talking who was in that room. What is clear from that is that the Israelis, you know, maybe this was an honest mistake on their part, a misreading of the situation, but they certainly appear to be of the belief, if you took out the Ayatollah and some of the top people with him, that this would then lead to an uprising by the people, and that amid all this chaos, there would be no ability to close the Strait of Hormuz. Well, none of that has really happened. Yes, they got rid of the Ayatollah.
And shout out to my man Donald. He sent the clock for 80 joules. Appreciate the support, guys. Oh, yeah, guys, you can also send gifts as well. Appreciate the support, my man. And if you got any questions, comment, jokes, or disagreements, you can send it in the super chat. I'll be happy to read it out loud and engage with it. And if not, make sure you double tap that screen and like the video, guys, and subscribe to the channel as well.
but he's just been replaced by other similarly minded people. And then there's been no uprising by the Iranian people whatsoever. And of course, the Strait of Hormuz has been held in a kind of stranglehold by the Iranians in a very powerful way. It has to be conceded, which has caused enormous damage to the global economy. They've basically controlled that strait now for 4 or 5 weeks, and it's caused hell. And none of that appears to have been predicted by the Israelis in their sales pitch to Trump to join them on this war.
Well, so I think you're overstating a number of things there. First off, I mean, the Iranian Navy is gone, right? They're controlling the strait by threatening to shoot at people, but they don't have any naval forces meaningfully in the area. And the idea, remember, they were thinking that card, which is their only trump card, that's the maximum.
But it's a very powerful card. And it's one that the Israelis did not think they had the power. Right. According to the New York Times
Israelis might have made a slight misjudgment on that effect. It's war. I think the Iranians made a much bigger misjudgment overall when you talk about the complete destruction of their military capability.
Right, but if you take away the Strait of Hormuz issue, then you've got overwhelming military dominance by the Americans and Israelis. Yes, the Iranians would have still attacked the neighboring Gulf states, but that would be a military conflict part of it. The fact that the Strait of Hormuz has been shut pretty much for 5 weeks, that has been an asymmetric war, which, with the best will in the world, has been wielded very successfully by the Iranians. For whatever reason.
I mean, no, honestly, though, it's like, look, man, it's F those guys, but their asymmetric warfare game is like chef's kiss. It's low-key spectacular. They're playing the asymmetric warfare game pretty damn well. And you could tell they had this planned out for years. Because, like I said, the close of the Strait of Hormuz, they can't attack us. So what are they going to attack? Oh, yeah, the guys that we kind of rely on for our energy and to invest in our AI. Oh, yeah, attack those guys and make us a liability instead of an asset. I mean, this is the game that they're playing with us because they know they can't take us on directly.
I think that's actually been wielded quite poorly. 2 weeks ago, let me finish my point, Joe, and then you can speak.
It is what it is.
2 weeks ago, the Iranians were saying, we're not going to give up the Strait of Hormuz unless we get a permanent peace deal, a permanent commitment to non-aggression and reparations. What are they trading it for as of yesterday? 2 week ceasefire, no promises. They can't even extract a commitment from the Israelis to stop.
See, that's funny because, yeah, bro, you're wrong, actually. They didn't open up the Strait of Hormuz because, well, Israel bombed Lebanon. And then even when Trump said, oh, yeah, I got like 20 boats through, those are 20 Pakistani boats, a.k.a. they let the allies go through. The guys who are paying the Chinese yuan and paying that transit fee. And they was doing this already. Now they're trying to solidify it.
Fighting Hezbollah. That's how badly they're beaten.
Okay. Well, Joe, he called you silly and incompetent, I think, earlier. So this is your chance to respond.
So prior to this war, the Straits of Hormuz were transited by anybody trading oil for free. Post-war, the Iranians are going to be able to extract a fee. That's one of their negotiating chips they have now.
No, they won't.
Prior to the war, the Ayatollah that we killed was actually at the negotiating table with us. The reason why none of this was taken into account is because the Israelis didn't really care about what would happen to the Straits of Hormuz. They didn't care what would happen to our Gulf allies. Our Gulf allies right now still,
AKA the guys who are like directly involved in talks, who's willing to either give up their enrich uranium or at least water it down. Yeah, we blew those guys up for hardliners who actually might want to go towards a nuke now. Like, bruh.
Technically are with us.
And I ain't gonna lie, with this, all we did was vindicate North Korea even more at this point. That's all we're doing right now. We're just vindicating North Korea even more.
But the fact that we were unable to provide them with security guarantees lowers our status in the region, potentially could threaten the petrodollar in the region. And so right now we're in a weaker position because we listened to a foreign government that had a different strategic goal in mind than we did. So it's great that we got the ceasefire. We need to maintain that ceasefire, and we have to actually withhold things from the Israelis, which we can do. The Israelis do have a modern air force, but they rely on us for a lot of the logistics, the refueling, in order to be able to reach into Iran. So we very much are in the driver's seat of what we.
Well, that's not true, Joe. That's just obviously false because we didn't help them with.
No, it's 100% true. They can't reach into. They cannot reach into Israel. I've actually been in the military, man. I've been part of these operations.
Then explain how they did the 12-day war without refueling.
We helped them out.
Weren't participating.
We
in
helped them out.
operations
Well,
until
we
the
helped
war,
them out
and
a
they
good.
struck the hell out of
Well, we
Iran.
helped them out a good deal with logistics. They can't sustain operations without us. They wouldn't be able to continue to sustain operations all the way into Iran with conventional military forces in any meaningful way without our support. We have to pull that back. We also have to pull back their ability to go on the offense outside of their borders, because it's going to interfere with the peace that we're trying to achieve. Right now, we're paying for their defense, we're paying for the offense, and also in terms of our status in the region and our ability to keep commerce and oil flow going out of the Straits of Hormuz and the Middle East. All of that is being negatively affected by us listening to a foreign government. So we have to put Israel back in the junior partner role if we're going to accomplish our strategic
Why couldn't you
objectives.
persuade Pete Hegseth of any of this?
Well, I tried. So therefore,
he didn't agree with you, and he has better intelligence than you. You weren't privy to any of this stuff. Like, you just don't know. That's why you're now on me.
Yeah, see, now bro just crashing out. So no, the problem is that they kept him out of the briefings, and he was head of counterterrorism, ex-CIA. Low-key spend time fighting these same guys you're crying about right now. So yeah, I'm gonna take the word of the guy who's ex-CIA, ex-military, and basically was fighting the same terrorists that, like I said, you're crying about right now. And it's kind of crazy because, remember, he was left out of those briefings because he was in disagreement with the war, and anybody who disagreed with that war was left out. So being left out of those briefings isn't really a shot on his intelligence, and he don't get his intelligence from those briefings. Those briefings are there for him to give his intelligence. Like, I don't know how. I mean, I think y'all got it effed up, but you got to remember, a briefing is where he comes to and gives his intelligence, not where he gets his intelligence from. Joe Kent, as head of counterterrorism, already gets his intelligence from the CIA and other parts of our intelligence and the DHS. So no, he doesn't need to be in those briefings to get his intel.
Outside doing podcasts instead of inside the administration trying to shape policy. You don't know.
Well,
you didn't persuade him
from the inside. Like, look, man, my letter of resignation has been out there. What's important right now is that we support President Trump in getting this peace deal and making sure it actually sticks. The problem is, as confirmed by the New York Times, that was well sourced from within the West Wing. The Israelis were in the driver's seat for all of this. Well, if you read the article, I think it's pretty evident. You know how leaks work in Washington, D.C. with the New York Times.
Well, if you say if you say it wasn't well sourced, which part are you contesting?
Oh, no, it was well sourced. You guys are just mischaracterizing how much influence Israel had based on what was written in that article.
What?
Which was Israel gave a presentation. Yeah.
Nah, that's hilarious. He pretty much said, no, you got the source right and you're reading it right, but I think you're just taking it wrong. Like, bro, that is the craziest form of gaslighting right there. It's like, bro, your wife catch you cheating. She sees the text messages, she sees the pictures, but you're telling her, look, I know the proof is right there, but look, you're just taking it wrong. I'm not cheating. You're just looking at it the wrong way, even though it's all right there for her to see. Is it? Bro, it's hilarious. I ain't gonna lie, that was funny.
I read it completely. And then after the Israelis were offline, right, then you had the meeting between the U.S. principals, in which John Ratcliffe and others were talking about, the Israelis are overselling their ability to achieve regime change. That's probably not going to happen. But they said, on what we've thought for a while is, when it comes to missiles and when it comes to their ballistic shield and when it comes to their Navy, we have the capability to do that, and we should do that. And so the idea that, we didn't get suckered into a regime change war. From the outset, American goals did not include regime change. From Trump's very first speech,
Donald Trump literally talked about regime change early on. Literally. Donald Trump literally said
regime change was an objective of the war. Fact check me on that after. He never did.
You don't think Donald Trump ever mentioned regime change?
Incorrect. I didn't say that. I said it wasn't a military objective of the war.
He said it would be nice to have, today,
but it's not the goal of the war.
He's claiming.
He's claimed that he's effectually got regime change. He said it. We have regime change, and even I sat there and be like, "Bro, what the hell are you talking about?" No, we don't. If we had regime change, rockets wouldn't be firing out of Iran towards Israel and drones towards the Gulf state. I mean, what are you talking about? We got regime change. The regime's will is still being carried out. But shout out to my man Jay. He said Trump should have secured the strait before anything. Literally, honestly, if he was gonna pull all that military presence somewhere, it should have been like a naval blockade of the strait, and then he should have went all in. But here's the problem: I mean, that means we'd have literally put our ships in the way of all of Iran's, missiles, and we'd have had to fight off all of Iran's missiles while holding over the strait. And I don't think we'd have been able to sustain that, considering the hypersonic missiles, drones, and all they had to do was just flood us with that. And I don't think we got enough vessels to play that type of defense through the Strait of Hormuz. Like, somebody's going to get hit. And like, what ship want to pass by while a missile fight is happening? Like, come on now. But I feel you though. If he was able to do that, I think he would have though. And if there was some secret way he could have did it and he didn't do it and he just got cocky and he just thought that they were just so weak, then I mean, man, it bit him in the ass. I'm just war gaming it in my mind, myself.
Regime change. What are you talking about?
He's affected it. That's because he's basically saying we killed all the senior leadership, which we did, by the way, in an unprecedented fashion.
So who's running the country?
But that doesn't mean it was an original military objective of the war. Fact check me on this, man. Go look at his original statements.
I said it
would be nice to have, but it's not an objective of the war.
Trump changed his goalposts every 10 seconds. That's been part of the
this has been remarkably consistent from Hegseth, Rubio on down. Go look at their public statements. What did they say? An official objective of Operation Furious regime change.
Why did America launch a preemptive strike against Iran? Well.
No, I'll give them grace because in the beginning, they didn't say their goal was, regime change. But out of nowhere, they thought that they could get regime change. And then all of a sudden, Trump said that, oh, yeah, we got regime change. We killed the next 3 successions of leaders. But that's not regime change, even though people are going to try to sell it to you like that.
To essentially prevent them from building up a further ballistic missile capability as a shield behind which they would be able to develop a nuclear weapons program. That's the core reason.
That was not the reason given by the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
Go look.
Do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation by double tapping that screen. Let's get to 200 likes. We're 21 likes away.
Get up, man. He said it over and over and over again.
On camera, he said when he was first asked the reason the United States launched a preemptive strike against Iran was because another country, brackets Israel, had indicated they were going to attack Iran, and therefore the Americans knew there would be attacks against some of their interests in the Middle East, so they got in first. Marco Rubio's
that was the reason for the timing,
camera.
Not the reason for the strike. The strategic reason for the strike, which Rubio explained in that very same press conference. I remember the exact one you're talking about. It's like
I remember the first one where you just came up and said, well, yeah, Israel told us that they were going to go strike them. And because they were going to strike them, we had to go ahead and pretty much strike them as well because Iran was going to start striking our assets in the region like they told us they would. So, yeah, and Iran let out that warning that, if you guys attack us, we'll start attacking the Gulf states and Israel. And what did Israel do? They said, all right, bet we're about to set this one off. And they did. And they told us they were going to do it. And they pretty much dragged us into it because, as Rubio said, the whole reason why we popped off with them is because, Israel was going to attack them. If we didn't attack them too, we was going to leave ourselves open. And this is what, Marco Rubio was saying.
Aggle, I think he's in Congress after having a meeting with people. This is very early in the war. He says, the reason for the strike is to prevent them from developing their ballistic missile shield further. The reason for the timing, why today, why February 28th, was the fact that they had this intelligence about the meeting of Ayatollah Khamenei and everybody else, and that Israel was going to go ahead with that under any circumstances. So we should do it now. But go back and look at that. I know exactly what press conference you're talking about, and I don't think you are remembering one piece of it, but you're not remembering.
It's a pretty significant piece when the Secretary of State of the United States,
too stupid,
on record, says that the reason for the preemptive strike by the United States was because Israel was attacking Iran. And then we hear from Antony Blinken, one of his predecessors, that Netanyahu had tried to sell this to both Biden and Obama, and when they both rejected the opportunity to join him in attacking Iran, guess what? Israel didn't attack. So it looks like he got third time lucky with Trump, who went along with it. But had Trump said no, I don't think Israel would have attacked.
Well, but then why did they strike in the 12-day war?
The only reason the attack
happened. Let's talk about the 12-day war. Let me bring Joe back in this. The 12-day war is fascinating because I distinctly remember, and I'm sure Will remember it differently to me, but I remember Donald Trump at the end of the 12-day war saying that this had put back any aspirations by the Iranians to build a nuclear weapon decades, that we had obliterated their nuclear capabilities. It was done. Done, gone. And here we are 9 months later having to launch a full-fledged war in Iran because the threat remains apparently not just the same, but so imminent that America had to act immediately. Now, try and make sense of that for me, Joe.
Well, this is what the Israelis do. They've always wanted this regime change war. And so they continually use their influence through official channels and then also through their echo chamber in the media to move the red line. They did this with the enrichment issue. President Trump initially said, our policy is no nuclear weapons for Iran. The Iranian Supreme Leader agreed. There was a lot of space there for negotiations. There was negotiations that were taking place for several months. Then the pro-Israel lobby basically came in and convinced President Trump that the new red line was zero enrichment. 12-day war happens. Operation Midnight Hammer happens. We take away the ability for them to enrich. The Iranians withhold their proxies. They don't retaliate in any meaningful way. They get right back to the negotiating table. And then we're hearing basically what Will just said. Oh, now we have to go in and attack Iran because of this ballistic missile capability. So the red line moves again every time Israel needs a new justification for the war.
And I mean, that's what I was noticing when the first round negotiations hit. It was supposed to be about, well, their nuclear enrichment, which they were talking about before Midnight Hammer. Before Midnight Hammer, they was ready to, well, downgrade or water down their enriched stockpile. And for some reason, we attacked them. But here's the problem, though. We stalled negotiations because we wanted to move the goalposts. It like they first came in, we're talking about nuclear enrichment. They're like, all right, cool, we can do that. And then they come in most likely ready to sign a deal. And then they're like, well, not only do we want you to, stop enriching, but we also want you to stop having ballistic missiles and stop funding your proxies. And they were just like, yeah, we're not doing any of that. We'll talk to you about enrichment, but our missiles and our proxies is a no-go. And then we just popped off with Midnight Hammer. I mean, honestly, well, and to be honest with you, even with the second rounds, before this war popped off, even the Omanian foreign minister said that, yeah, Iran was ready to actually give up all of their enrichment. It was like, look, bro, well, how about this? We'll do no enrichment. But yet we was like, well, you can't have ballistic missiles and you can't fund your proxies. And the problem about the ballistic missiles is that we're pretty much saying they can't defend themselves or their borders. And the problem with the proxies is, well, they actually believe in these proxies. They actually believe in the cause of Hamas, which is the Palestinian question. They actually believe in the cause of Hezbollah, which Hezbollah was created through the invasion of Israel into southern Lebanon, and they actually believe in the Houthis, which the Houthis is a bit, their history's a bit shaky. I forgot a little bit, but I'll get back to you when I remember.
They get the outcome that they want by using their pressure network and their media echo chamber and their official engagements with the U.S. government. They were still worried that we were going to get a deal with the Iranians. And so therefore they went ahead and said, hey, we're going to preemptively go into Iran and attack, knowing that this attack would be against the regime. Iran's reaction to an attack directly against the regime would be to enact their contingency plan, which would be targeting our bases in the region. So the only actual imminent threat that Iran posed was the attack threat by the Israelis against Iran. There was no imminent Iranian threat attack against us.
No, I don't think there was for a moment. Will Chamberlain,
nope.
I mean, as we sit here today debating this, the regime remains in place. Trump wants to argue.
Let's be real there. If Iran was going to attack us, bro, they did it after Midnight Hammer. I mean, you could tell Iran shown restraint because they could have took over the Strait of Hormuz right after Midnight Hammer. They could have committed to that. But I guess after we took out Khomeini, that's when they decided to close the Strait of Hormuz. When we took out the moderates, now we got the hardliners. They're like, yeah, we're closing the strait. But remember, when we did Midnight Hammer, they kind of bent the knee. They said, all right, we'll chill out. Let's keep talks going. But now, since we've escalated these strikes, since we took out the supreme leader, now there really is no moderate that we can speak to. And it sounds like they actually might be going towards a bomb. Because, well, guess what? They've carried out all the other actions that the supreme leader never wanted to carry out, like the closing of the strait and complete war with the Gulf countries.
It's different people, therefore it's a new regime. But it's the same people, it's the same regime. It's just the faces of
minus the 100 senior leaders who are all dead.
So a few of the leaders have gone, but they've been replaced by others. But they've been replaced by others from the same regime with the same ideology. It would be like saying you've decapitated the Trump regime, but he's replaced by a bunch of people called Trump. It's like, it's kind of.
I mean, that's what happened in Venezuela, right? We We
Well, in
effectively
Venezuela, the
took out one
regime
person in
hasn't-
Venezuela, and now we have
Yeah, Venezuela's regime hasn't changed. And I remember we was going like, we're about to free the Venezuelans, guys. Well, that was cap. The Venezuelans are still under that same socialist authoritarian government, still under there. Their life has not gotten any better. I mean, all we've got is a complicit government. I mean, yeah, they work with us. I mean, well, yeah, a complicit regime. They work with us. They make sure we get in on their oil, but we allow them to still treat the people of Venezuela the same way. Basically, no change from Maduro. I mean, Dulce Rodriguez was Maduro's vice president. You think she's switching up? Nah.
The regime hasn't changed in Venezuela. All that's changed is the president got picked up in the middle of the night and put in a New York prison cell. But the regime's continued. His own number 2 is running it. So the regime is still there. So
yeah, we all,
really,
okay.
I think we should be clear about what regime change means, right?
Done.
With my quaint.
Shout out to my man Jet. They both need to eat some hippie calories and chill. Nah, for real though. Man, everybody needs to take a nice little chill pill, bro. Everybody's a little, I don't know, a little too ready for war, man. I'm like, damn, everybody chill out. Chill out. I thought we wanted peace in the Middle East. Not like, bro, not let the war soar. It's like something's wrong with you guys. But yeah, we all need to chill, guys. Chill out.
Old head on. Regime change means you change the regime. Not that you just take out a few people at the top of it and they get replaced by other people from the same regime. Secondly, the enriched uranium remains in Iran. None of that has been secured by either the Americans or Israelis as we speak. Thirdly, the Straits of Hormuz remain under the control of the Iranians, which they weren't. It wasn't in control of it before this war started. And it is, despite what you say, they are now charging money. Apparently they want to charge $1 a barrel was the last thing I read.
Hey, we got to 200 likes, man. Appreciate the support, guys. If you haven't already, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video.
And Trump's all for it because it's going to make everyone rich. So they've got the control of that. They've continued to fire rockets, it seems, at some of their Gulf state neighbors. So I'm looking at this historic victory and I'm thinking, well, where's the victory? What is the victory? Because I don't see it. And forgive me if I take with a pinch of salt this idea
let's try this by historical analogy.
Let me finish my point. You can respond. That apparently we're now supposed to believe that rather like 8-9 months ago, Iran's capability of building a nuclear weapon has been destroyed like it was 9 months ago. Well, why can't they just pop up again in 9 months? They've still got all the enriched uranium. What's going to stop them? So look, I put it to you that the charge sheet.
I mean, yeah, we bombed them like 10 months ago. Now here we back again, complaining about the same enriched uranium that we bombed or we so-called obliterated 10 months ago. So I'm like I said, he's right. What's to keep us from coming back here again and you guys just bringing up the same uranium? Oh, we never got it. We got to go in a bomb 2 weeks. Oh no, like, bro.
Against the claim of historic victory is pretty big.
All right, so I'll deal first with that minor point on the enriched uranium, right? President Trump has said on truth. No. I mean, in relation to you saying we lost the war, right? So
I didn't say America's lost the war. I'm disputing the claim
that you didn't think it's a big victory.
I'm disputing the claim to historic victory, given the checklist I just presented.
Well, let's imagine, if you will, it's January 1942, a month after Hitler declared war on the United States in the aftermath of Pearl Harbor. And the current military state of affairs is the entire German Navy is at the bottom of the sea. The Luftwaffe is destroyed. There's complete Allied air superiority over Germany. Hitler, Goering, Bormann, and Himmler are all dead in a massive military strike. And yet the German press is claiming the Germans have managed to shut down trade via some rockets in the Danish Straits. Who's winning? Is that like not? I mean, people have lost context about what it means to win a war.
I've lost the plot with that analogy. I'm sorry.
In 5 weeks, we have just decimated Iranian military capability. We struck 13,000 targets, and they managed to hit a single plane, and they couldn't even capture the soldiers that fell out of that plane. It's one of the most lopsided military conflicts in history.
On the neighboring Gulf
and the fact that you have a temporary restraint of trade and an increase in gas by $1 a gallon for a month does not change that in the slightest.
Really?
Yes, 100%.
So you're
looking
at
a massive
this
military victory.
Okay, Joe, this is a great victory, and I've lost the plot.
I mean, apparently we all lost the plot. I mean, not one military goal was truly achieved, and they won the war. There's been regime change, even though, the same regime is still in power, but apparently we're just blind and we lost the plot.
The great victory is the fact that we have a ceasefire, and this could have been much, much worse. However, as opposed to making some like obscure World War II reference, because everything always has to be about World War II, let's just compare the situation between now and just a month ago before the war. The Straits of Hormuz, before this last iteration of war kicked off, the Straits of Hormuz were open for commerce. People and companies could transit that for free. Iran didn't have a stranglehold on that. Our GCC alliance was completely intact. There was still a guarantee of American security that hadn't been fractured. We had a regime inside of Iran, although they were not the best. It's not exactly what we wanted. They had a prohibition on building a nuclear weapon, and they were involved in active negotiations with us. They were closely adhering to a strict escalation ladder. Their proxies were not attacking us. No, that's exactly what happened.
They had 60% enriched uranium. What do you think they were using that for?
What?
Medical?
As a deterrent, though. I know a lot of people hate when he said that. Like, yeah, they're using 60% enrichment as a deterrent. And why is it a deterrent? Because after we got out of the JCPOA and we were monitoring their enrichment while they were under there, and it was at 3.6%. And because we got out of it, ripped it up, invoked sanctions, IRGC, put the IRGC in the terrorist list, killed General Soleimani. Yeah, after we hit him with those 3 aggressions, that's when they went up to 60% enrichment as a deterrent. Because at a certain point, they're like, yo, we just see you guys aggressing towards us and not really trying to get back under this deal. We were able to monitor our nuclear capabilities. So it sounds like you guys want more than really monitoring our nuclear capabilities. So we're just going to go ahead and enrich to 60 as a deterrent to keep you guys from attacking us. Boy, it was how they were wrong, because actually that made us want to attack them even more. Like, wow, how that worked out for them.
Purposes?
If they wanted a bomb, they had decades, long before President Trump ever became the president, to develop a nuclear weapon. There was a prohibition by the Ayatollah, which was a reasonable and calculated approach.
And here's the thing, though. I think I heard the best analogy. I forgot where I heard it. No, I think a Riyadh Report. Shout out to that guy. But the best analogy I heard for this was, it was pretty much like this. Let's say this. Like, you don't want me to have a gun, right? But I already bought all the parts for a gun and all this good stuff. I have all the parts. I could build the gun. But I'm telling you, look, as long as you don't attack me or trespass on my land, I'm not going to build that gun, and we don't ever got to worry about me having a gun. Now, you got 2 options. You can either take my word, or you can fuck around and find out and see if you can attack me before I can build the gun. There's your options. And that's what it came down to. That's what it came down with North Korea. Because when we found out they were doing it, we had 2 options: either boots on the ground, or we see if we can sanction them to death and just leave them alone. See, this what it comes to. When we know they're able to build it, when they got the enriched uranium, they got the technology. The problem is they're telling us, look, just don't attack us. You don't got to deal with it. The thing is, we're attacking them, and now we're seeing if we can, well, I say destroy them before they, build the bomb and start destroying, I'm gonna be real with you, Israel, because I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, one thing that people get wrong is if they're the first to build a nuke, they're gonna attack the US. No. If they build a nuke, they're probably going to test it in front of us. And then if we F with them, they're probably going to strike Israel. Because, I mean, they really don't got to work too hard on a missile to fly over here. It will go right to Israel.
Didn't want to become like Libya. They didn't want to become like Saddam. They had reached a point where they would keep the capability, but not
negotiations with Witkoff,
and they were in negotiations with us, and we were not at
and we
war.
won't give up our enrichment rights, and we won't give you up anything diplomatically.
But we were at the negotiating table with them. There was a potential for a deal.
Fake. The Iranian nuclear archive, which is
now fast forward to where we're at right now. Look at the Straits of Hormuz. Look at the GCC.
Let me ask Will a question, which is, Will, does Israel have nuclear weapons?
Yeah.
Yes, almost certainly. I mean, they haven't officially claimed it, but
why don't we know for a fact?
Because they don't want to say so, because there's American staff.
I mean, which is hilarious, by the way. Isn't that so funny how, like, we're crying about Iran having nukes, or not even having nukes, but no, just them having enrichment. We're mad about them having an enriched uranium at 60% when Israel got full-blown nukes that are illegal. By the way. I think they had them since like the 60s, I believe. So it's kind of wild to sit here and, complain about Iran's nuclear capabilities when Israel is literally